Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey Sister, how you doing?
All is well. Thank you very much for asking. How are you?
I'm doing well. I see it looks, I think we got a couple folks watching. If you are tuned in already, please let us know where you are watching from. We want to welcome you to Hey Sister. We want you to like, follow, share, subscribe, let folks know about what we're doing here on our platform. We come to you on Sunday evenings. We have every topic under the sun, and every now and then we have to do just the evening of hot topics. And that's what we're going to be bringing to you tonight. So make sure you like, follow, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend to join us on Hey Sister. We also want you to join us in the comment section. That's where the conversation gets good when you participate in the comments. So we want to see you sharing in the comments. So you can start by telling us where you're watching us from in the comments. Just drop a note. Let us know where you're tuning in from. It is, I guess, all over the world, or all over this country for sure, and what are the other countries that celebrate. Today is Halloween. So happy Halloween, everybody.
Yes. Happy Halloween.
I mean, golly, sister, you were really dry with that. Hey, Thibodeau's in the house. Hey, Mary Dennis. Mwah, we love you.
No, I wasn't trying to be dry. I was saying that we were just having the conversation that I feel like I'm looking at videos and pictures and people are going all the way out. And I don't know. I don't know. I clearly am missing something. I haven't gone all the way out for Halloween in quite some time. So, it's you know, it's a Sunday. So very interesting. I guess it worked out real good for those who don't celebrate Halloween and who only do like Holy Night or whatever they call it. So I guess it worked out great because you could just stay at church all day today.
Yeah, well, it's um I've definitely seen a lot of people in costumes. I've definitely seen a lot of people sharing pictures and posts, and even went out to the mall on this weekend and saw some of the workers in certain stores. Like they had the whole Toy Story cast. They were everybody. They were Woody. they were Croc. What's the little alligator one? They were like every character in Toy Story. Everybody who was on shift that time, they was in every character costume. It was cute. I think people are just happy to have something, some levity, and to be out.
Yeah, and listen, I'm happy that we're actually going to celebrate Halloween this year.
You heard that?
I
That's somebody's
do.
at the door. They're coming to get that candy.
I'm happy we're going to celebrate this year because you know why? In years past, not even just last year with the on well, we were still in the very much of the height of the pandemic, still in it, but very much in the height then. But just over the last few years, we have just kind of clean skipped over Thanksgiving, Halloween, and just gone straight to Christmas. So I'm guessing that I gotta celebrate that we are actually putting on some costumes and saying trick or treat.
Yes. So to all the trick or treaters out there, enjoy. And I guess I should probably return any leftover candy, right?
What you returning it? Where you returning it to?
Return it to the store so it don't get eaten right in this house.
Yeah. If it's still in the original, yeah. If it's still in the bag, sure. I learned something though. So one of my coworkers was telling me about the teal pumpkins. Have you ever heard about this? Teal pumpkins?
No.
So apparently you put out teal pumpkins as a symbol that you also have non-food items to give children, particularly those with food allergies. So she says she gives out books and other things like that, and you put a teal pumpkin out. I didn't know that until this year. So awesome stuff there.
And that's why you're tuned in right now to Hey Sister, because you always learn something new when you tune into Hey Sister. So you are live with us. We learned about the teal pumpkins, and tonight we're going to be getting into some what? hot topics. Woo! So, as you see, I do have on a branded piece of attire this evening. And with the letters AKA representing Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And we most definitely have to talk about it in context to the television program Insecure. So, Insecure had its fifth and final season premiere on last Sunday when we were wrapping up Hey Sister. And the week ensued after that because one of the characters wore some Alpha Kappa Alpha, not just the colors, because the colors are glorious in pink and green, all variety and shades, but specifically salmon pink and apple green. But there was a scene where the an actual sweater with these letters on it was worn, and I can't tell you what took place thereafter because it was just a firestorm all over the interwebs. Um, so lots of perspectives and takes on it. I know, sister, you had some perspectives and takes.
I have a lot of perspective and takes. Uh, yeah. So, where would you like to begin?
Well, I don't, so here's the thing. We got some comments already starting in. I just dropped in about the teal pumpkins, but let's see. I thought the shield was on it.
I don't recall seeing this shield on it. I don't recall seeing that. Now I have not gone back to look. I thought it was just an AKA cardigan.
So they never really showed it full because the way she was positioned, you never really saw it. I think where people saw the full on were some of the images that were shared in the pre-show images where they have still photography that was done like promoting the episode. Um I watched it and said, I hope they got permission.
I did not say that.
Mhm.
And not because I didn't hope they got permission. I think, and you and I have talked about this. Of course, we've been fans of Insecure since season one, and I've seen them use other paraphernalia since season one. So by this point, I was certainly in season five. I certainly wasn't even thinking about the permission conversation.
Because I had
Um,
assumed because the images were there from season one, right?
right. And, again, with Prentice Penny being the showrunner, he's an alpha, his wife is an AKA, his mother is an AKA. And also, she's in the law profession. So I would assume that all of those things would have been tied up. So let me just say, okay. So my initial thoughts watching the show, bam. First thought was, again, I did not go. I went to an HBCU, Southern. This is also paraphernalia that was purchased by an authorized vendor.
A licensed vendor of Southern
Licensed
University. Let's talk about
vendor.
it.
Yes. So my first reaction, honestly, was, why does she got so much pink and green on? Like, I understand she's an AKA on the show. I'm an AKA in real life, and I don't wear pink and green at every event that I go to, particularly not one on my college campus. I would have thought, she might have repped her college, even if, and I even have some pink and green Southern stuff, like if you're going to blend it and mix it up. So I was like, wow, she has a lot of pink and green on all day.
I think that was your first reaction.
That was my first
okay,
reaction.
Can I pause and give you my first reaction? We're going to go first set. Let's go back and forth. Okay. My first reaction, again, since I've watched all the seasons,
right?
The permission thing wasn't even in my head at that time. My first thought was, what a boring reunion. I'm sorry. I'm getting ready to go to Xavier's homecoming next week. Xavier University of Louisiana homecoming, November 3rd through the 7th. If you ain't registered, you're too late because you got to register to get participate in all the official activities. If you're going to do some unofficial activities, go ahead. Be merry. Make sure you vaccinated and all that good stuff. So that's my PSA. And hydrate in advance. See, I got my water right here. Um, I was like, that is so boring and whack. Right, that part. It wasn't an HBCU reunion. I was like, okay, I'm glad y'all went to Stanford, wherever y'all went.
Stanford, yes. And then
I know Stanford, UCLA. I don't care wherever y'all went. I'm glad y'all went. I'm glad y'all had y'all little uh black student union or y'all a black SGA. But I was like, that is kind of boring.
yeah, I mean,
That was
yeah,
my first reaction to the whole thing.
yeah. It did look kind of wet. But so that's it. So anyway, the floodgates opened the next day on Monday. And so now my second reaction was, oh wow. Okay. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I initially was just like, okay, I guess Issa Rae had time to respond to the comments, the initial comments that were made. I really didn't think it was going to become a thing. I really thought it was going to be like her, she had an Issa Rae like comment, right? Because she's definitely on her, if you don't mess with me, you don't mess with me kind of thing right now. So, and if you don't mess with me, you'll feel the benefits won't be there for you in the long run because I'm hitting right now. All right, cool. Definitely thought this was going to be just a second. Definitely didn't think by Wednesday folks were still posting and still talking. That's what aggravated me.
Mm-hmm.
It aggravated me when quote unquote celebrities, they had already chimed in like on Amanda Seales' page, right? Who she had originally did her post, but then like 2 days later she still was posting. Then they originally comment on her page. Then they took pieces and put it on their page to comment on. And I was just like, man, it must be a slow news day because wow. And it infuriated me because ultimately Angela Rye made a comment. And at the end of it, it was something to the effect of find something to do. That
Mm-hmm.
ticked me off. That ticked me off. Because here's the thing, when it comes to Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, we have been doing something since 1908. So that's A. B, I could be wrong, but I thought that I read in the past that Angela Rye was a part of a predominantly white sorority when she was in college. Maybe I'm wrong, but if that is the truth, sis, you don't have a dog in this fight. Stay out of it. That's number two. Number three, if you see what I am seeing going on in the world right now, I feel like as one of the appointed leaders of the black community, you needed to have found something else to do than get into this conversation. Mark Lamont Hill, member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, you needed to find something else to do than get into this conversation.
Okay.
Now you go.
Okay. Because that's all I got to comment on. Okay. So my second reaction, because we can be a lot,
Absolutely. We're not for
admittedly,
everybody.
and we should be because we're the first, foremost, and finest
Right.
Greek letter organization founded by college educated black women,
One generation out of sleep.
one generation out of slavery on the campus of Howard University. Therefore, if we want to be a little extra, we can be a little extra. So, yes, we were doing the most. But to your point, the conversation, people miss the boat, they missed the point.
Yeah.
The point was not whether or not why use a real sorority, make up a fake one name that you won't have these problems. That wasn't even the point. The point was, if you use anybody's brand, y'all in Hollywood, you do this every day. That's why y'all put stickers over those MacBooks that you use to cover that Apple symbol. Because we see all I've seen the whole all the episodes because I'm a fan of the show. So that's why you cover that up because you know better. You know because you're creatives. You are all creatives.
Yes.
So you know about copyright infringement and trademark infringement. And you can say, yes, it was an homage. But when you do an homage to someone, you give attribution and you do the due diligence to ensure that you continue to protect their brand. And
Yes.
in the instance with Mark Lamont Hill, because we had this conversation, because my husband is a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, they too had a very similar situation with the show that's currently at the Met based on Charles Blow's life because it had Kappa prominently featured. I got to look up the name of it for me,
Yes.
Sister
I
Barbara.
got you.
And it's like, oh, wait a minute. Now they were a lot quieter in their uh uproar. And so I think maybe that's part of the lesson. You let your legal team handle it and you just move in silence.
Right.
But
The name of the show is Fire Shut Up in My Bones.
fire shut up in my bones. So very similar situation. They settled. They came to a nice conclusion that all parties could agree to. But the bottom line is we know better, so we should do better. And when you get called on not doing better, don't be dismissive. Don't be glib. Don't say somebody should have something else to do because Angela Rye wants to protect her brand. Mark Lamont Hill wants to protect his brand. Issa Rae wants to protect her brands. Everybody wants to protect their brands. And you have a right to not only protect them, but you also have the right to enforce them. And if you don't enforce them, you can lose them.
And so coming back to that, so that
How
was
is that how is what they did different from folks stealing black people dances from TikTok? Not different.
and that comes to my next point. So the other issue that I had was the commentary, in my opinion, was there were a lot of gross generalizations about they and them and y'all need to and why y'all ain't checking y'all vice president. And it became these gross generalizations. So then I got aggravated again because for me it's like we're not a monolith. AKAs are not a monolith, just like black people are not a monolith, just like black women aren't a monolith. So everybody didn't have the same reaction to this particular story. Talk directly to the person who you feel said something that you take issue with. But this gross generalization of everybody who's a part of the organization, that bothered me. And really, my line sister Arnetta is on here. It really wasn't until I talked to my line sister Arnetta and my cousin Chelsea that I did think to that point, like, yeah, these are copywritten,
Trademarked.
yeah, trademarked items, and so we should hold people to a certain standard when it comes to those things. Because again, when I think about my university, very often, and this goes to the point, like you said, about a Mac computer, you would never do that with Mac. You would always respect their brand enough to cover it up unless you got permission. You would never do that with Nike. You would always cover that up on a shirt unless you got permission. And so it also brought forth the question of why do we think it's okay to do that to each other, which you wouldn't do to someone else? Because when it comes to like my university, there are black owned businesses like our sorority. There are black owned vendors who pay a lot of money for the rights to
To be
license
licensed.
these branded items. And why would I not hold an HBO, a Time Warner, why would I not hold them to the same standard that I hold a mom and pop organization
The
that
t-shirt man on the street. Y'all know there's
right,
always a t-shirt man at everything. And if we
and
gonna
which
go after him,
yeah, and which I think we absolutely should, because then there are those people who did get the appropriate licenses and rights, and those mom and pop shops, they're not, it's like one or two employees, it's people still printing stuff in their homes. These are not billion-dollar corporations. So we supposed to let a billion-dollar corporation pass? And like I said, initially I wasn't even tripping, but man, as the days passed, they gave me more reason to be like, oh, now y'all clowning. And then, like, the director, from what I understand, she had a post basically saying, hey,
blame me.
blame me. But then I was told this, and I didn't see it. So let me be clear. This is something I was told. But that this old video of one of these switch days that they do at some universities where people imitate the other Greek organizations, what have you, of these predominantly white boys wearing pink and green, quote unquote, imitating. Like, let's not do wrong to justify our wrong, right? Like that, like, don't point to something else that's wrong. I don't like that either. I don't feel the need for any of those switch days and all of that stuff. I don't need to imitate somebody who's in a fraternity.
Mm-mm.
So don't do that. And then on our side of the house, like you said, let the people who are the legal people, the legal scholars, the folks who get paid to do this, the people who've been elected to do these things, let them handle it, because they told you stand down, and
Mm-hmm.
you should have stood down.
That's right. So another comment here was she wore the shield. That's the issue. Actually, so yes, she violated the copyright. Actually, it's more than that, because it's even the letter combination with the colors. It depends on how that trademark application is written.
Right.
And so that's all that people need to understand. It's how that trademark application is written, and you can be in violation and unknowingly in violation, which people are often unknowingly in violation. Just
Absolutely.
just think how hard to be an we know how hard it is to be an authorized vendor, the paperwork, the investment.
Right.
um and yes, only at a PWI do they have those switch days, because we don't play that.
I think they, and listen, I think they might have tried that at my alma mater one time, and I think that was this newer generation. And I think
Yeah,
like,
these new generations try a whole lot of things, but
right,
some of us have to be like, no, we can't have an erasure of certain parts of our
right,
culture, right?
right.
Woo, all right. So we got deep into that one on
Well,
Instagram.
I wanted us to get deep into it because number one, it's a night of hot topics, but because you said one of the things you said is that you know they are creative. I mean, with this platform, there's a lot of hey sisters, hey sister, hey combinations out there. We have to do all of these things to protect ourselves. When I'm writing a screenplay, I can't just pray for the best. No, I have to get that stuff registered. And there's investments that our people are making. And I think we can be extra, like you said at first. We can be extra, but I found that a lot of people seemingly were pressed in a way that I just didn't understand why they were pressed about it. Because I'm like, you don't have nothing to do with this. You're not in a Greek organization. So I feel like there's also that piece. At the end of the day, AKAs get hated on a lot for no reason.
Mhm.
I
Well,
mean,
I'm okay. I'm okay with the hateration, the holleration, and the dancery, because I already know, like you said, we've been doing work since 1908. Now, don't have us run down what we've done, and don't have us run down how we just raised $2 million in one day to go to HBCUs, my dear. Don't
right.
ever
You
question
were you
if
were
you,
supposed to go to HBCU.
yeah, don't question.
Ooh, that made me so mad.
Yeah, don't do that. And that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Don't do that, sis.
Right.
You know, don't do that. So Let's see. We got a couple more conversation. Yes, y'all can. Thank you very much, Denise Alexander. We will do the most. Next up, we want to talk about the premiere of Colin in Black and White on Netflix. If you have not watched the show, it's a quick, easy watch. Each episode is 30 minutes or less. The young man who plays Colin is just a delight, and I love. I know I saw Whoopi talk about it on The View, so yes, I did watch the Bronx versus Vampires, like the movie that he was in on Netflix, which he did such a great job. They're so cute. It was also like a little Netflix show. Um, so let me get the negative out the way first, so we can end on the positive. Jason Whitlock had the audacity to tweet on Al Green's,
Al Green.
not Al Green, Al Gore's internet. Al Green is probably saying,
He said,
something.
let's stay together, baby.
Yeah, but he also said, some name, something. Listen. Anyway, Jason Whitlock, who is a sports writer, I don't even think he has a TV job anymore. I think his last job was with Fox. He was with ESPN. He's been, and he's a writer. Um, and he tweeted that Ava and Colin are stupid.
Let me give the quote. Let me give the full quote.
Give the full quote of the tweet.
Watched all 6 episodes of the Netflix Kaepernick series. Cap and Ava are too stupid to be embarrassed. But make no mistake, this series is absolutely embarrassing. Now, I have a problem that we're even talking about him, but that was the actual tweet.
So that's if they're too stupid to be embarrassed. So let's first stop with that. They're not stupid. If
Not
you
good.
don't like the show, if you don't like the art that they created, then so be it. That does not make them stupid or that they're too stupid to be embarrassed. What is there to be embarrassed about when you create something, when you put your heart and soul into a project that's coming from your story, your lens, your perspective? What is there to be embarrassed about? Because you put in the work. Nothing. So he has absolutely nothing to say that. I got more trick-or-treaters coming to the door. You hear that?
I hear
And so that got under my skin and infuriated me in a way that I am sick and tired of people. If I don't like something, then something is wrong with you just because it's not to my taste or my liking. So stop that. Is it an Emmy Award winning show? Probably not. But for what it is, and the story is told, and the target demographic, because you were looking at this young man's life from being an 8th grader to a senior in high school. So you were looking at a short span of time to show how his life and his worldview was informed and the things that impacted him and shaped him. And if you don't like that, then cool, you don't like it. But that don't make him stupid, and that don't make his story embarrassing. So I just wanted to put that on the table first, and then get to the positive.
Well, I want to say Franklin Leonard, who is the founder of the Blacklist, so I follow him because the Blacklist is a database basically for Black creatives in order to get your screenplays out there and what have you. He said he tweeted 2 things. So the first one was in response to that. He said, I too often watch the entirety of shows I hate just so that I can make wholly non-specific criticisms of the creators. That's a totally normal thing that definitely happened. That was his one tweet. And then the next one he said was, imagine watching 6 episodes of anything and the most damning thing you can think of is y'all stupid. I think that number one, Jason Whitlock has been an embarrassment for quite some time. I'm not into, I try not to be into things like fat shaming or what have you, but maybe LeVar Ball said it best. You don't have nothing to comment on but smacks. That's it. Your opinion, like in my, I literally was like, imagine actually giving a damn about what Jason Whitlock had to say about your story. And to say that they're too embarrassed, too stupid to be embarrassed. Like you said, they don't have anything to be embarrassed about. They on Netflix. You at the house. Okay? He ain't Colin Kaepernick ain't worked in the NFL at least in how many years? He's still making money. What you doing, Jason? So how about just say I'm a hater? Just say I wish I had come up with the idea. Someone else in his comments said something to the effect like you still trying to be relevant off of Colin Kaepernick's name. And that's what's really sad. You got to use somebody that you have all this animus towards,
Disdain.
this thing. You have to use them to be relevant because otherwise, who cares about you?
Mm-hmm.
You like first of all the fact that you were even a sports writer and journalist, quote unquote, and I don't think that you've ever played any sports because you certainly don't strike me as one.
I think he did play football or something, but again, like,
Well, it was a mighty long time ago if he did.
hmm yeah.
So I was like, okay, here we go again. Somebody trying to be relevant off of a situation that, guess what? If you again you watched all 6 episodes, you could have decided that they was too stupid to be embarrassed after the opening scene. You
After the
watch
opening scene.
you watch all 6 episodes, you're done.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, now to the positive.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. To me, it was introspective. You know, they had the educational element in there where they were telling other stories that are relevant to um his experiences. So I'm not going to try to give anything away for those of you who haven't watched it yet. um the soundtrack is the bomb. You hear me? Because I was like, "Woo, this soundtrack got me." Like, I was on the yard already. I'm ready for homecoming listening to that soundtrack. um and so it just informed so much more about his experiences and his stories, and really educating on those they call them microaggressions. I call them all macro, it don't matter, it's all aggressions, that those subtle slights that you've experienced, that you've witnessed, that you've heard, and you don't have the language for at that age. It did such a beautiful job articulating that,
Mhm.
you know and I was really wondering, I would love to see his parents interviewed now, to
I
see.
was thinking the same thing. I went and looked that up. I was like, well, what is his relationship with his parents now? I would be very interested in
I
hearing.
would be interested in knowing the relationship with the parents, the brother and sister, the family that he was adopted into, to see how they feel. Because obviously he's had to share these different things with them along the way. They may have not, it probably didn't all compute for them naturally because it wasn't their lived experience. Um,
I think, and just from what I read, I think a lot of stuff didn't compute for them. Honestly, it seems like until the kneeling
mhm.
and they were finally exposed to the outright overt racist and hateful things that were coming at him.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and I think that does it for a lot of people sometimes, because I know even in with your documentary that you're filming, I'm gonna drop a link to the trailer in there for folks to go watch. in your documentary filming, someone they were trying to bring a topic forth, and not until they experienced, they were like, oh, someone who's of the um you know cl- identifies as white, was trying to champion an issue, a diversity related issue, and then was like, oh, the vitriol that she received, that's when it crystallized for her. Oh no, this is a real serious problem. I didn't think it was that bad. And then it really hit her how bad it was. And that might be what his parents' experience was as well.
Right. Well, and in her case, it wasn't until George Floyd's murder that even became, even the idea of this championing of a diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging type issue came to the forefront. So for his parents, in the very same way, it almost takes these huge moments. Like you said, we are dealing with these microaggressions that are eating away at our spirit and our souls on a daily basis. And some people, it's not until George Floyd is murdered that they're like, oh wait, that happens. Um, One of my really good friends just texted me earlier, and I'm gonna get it wrong, but she basically said she told her white friend, I approach the police just like I would approach a stray dog. I have to understand that I have to be aware that I might get mauled, you know.
Mhm.
And I said, and for a lot of white people, that is a foreign concept, even with the wild animals, because
Mhm.
they approach wild animals like, come on in, wild animals. And it's like, and then be mad while their wild animals wilding out. Like, so it's the lived experiences, like you said, are totally different. But one of the things I wanted to say, you said, is it gonna be an Emmy Award winning, maybe not, or something like that? I think it is going to win awards.
Okay.
Um, and I think it's going to win awards because, to your point, I mean, remember, Colin Kaepernick was blackball scandal, whatever you want to call it. And then Nike came and gave him the big campaign, and then he became the sportsman of the year, even though he hadn't played in XYZ amount of time. I think it takes for people to see these sort of things to say, oh, wow, I've done that before. Like, I've looked at a black kid with around white people and be like, are the are you all okay? Are you guys
Mhm.
good? That was, you know, there were some key moments. And I know you said you don't want to give it away, but I'm gonna probably have to give some of it away.
There were key moments that we've experienced.
Yes. Well, let me say this. There were some key moments in there that really tugged at me. And you know, number one, his little white guy friend. I thought he did a great job too,
Great job. Yeah.
because that's always the other thing, right? Going back to what I was saying about the
And I
general.
hope he's a real character. I hope they didn't embellish that character, because if
I
they,
hope so.
because if he is, I want to meet him, because I loved that character. The young man who played him, he did such a phenomenal job in playing the role. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, let me find his name, because that kid was acting.
Yeah, and I want it. I like you said, I don't want it to be embellished. I want that to be a real story, because it's so often a situation, like I said about generalizations. It is easy for us to look at white people and say them, they, and all, and grossly generalize. And then you have to go back and check yourself and say, but I can actually point to people who I know that happen to be white, but they are not the same as those who we have encountered in that way. And that was one of the things that his character really embodied. It's like understanding that he was not the same as many of the others that Kaepernick had encountered. But the situation with the little girl too.
The actor, his name is Mace Coronel, and he did such a good job playing Jake.
Jake, Mace Cornell. All right, Mace. Um, I stopped the show because recently, Rob and I had a conversation, and I always talk about, having, not always, I have talked about being a brown skinned girl, being a dark skinned girl, growing up in Southern Louisiana, having light skin, mother, sister, these things like that. And he was like, well, I don't see you as being dark skinned, like, you know, and I paused it earlier and I was like, see this little girl? She got about the same skin color as me. And yet the friend was like, she's blue black.
Blue black. Mm-hmm.
And it was like, why do we do that to each other?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he couldn't see her beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And that of course struck me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other piece that struck me was when he said that, like, when they talked about the adoption, the first thing I said was, oh, he wasn't their first choice. And when he talked about being the second choice, never being anybody's first choice,
First choice. Mm-hmm.
oh, that got in my spirit. And I was like, and see, if all you do is sit back and try to poke holes in people's experiences, you miss so much. And for, again, somebody like Jason Whitlock, I know you'd have been the third, fourth, and fifth choice on many occasions.
Or not chosen at all.
Or not chosen at all. So it was that.
And that was so powerful. That like, I've never been anyone's first choice.
That was, yeah, that.
Just that alone was so, it's a little bit of heartbreak, and just like, you just want to, like, oh, can I hug you, baby? Like, come on, baby, let me hug this baby. Because there are people right now, and that's why I liked it. I know that there are young people who are in that age range of 14 to 18 who feel that way right now.
Right.
Who feel that they don't have a voice, who feel like they don't have power, who feel like they are never selected, who are still being asked about their hair, who are still having to go to schools and face indignities and injustices from their teachers and their coaches, and people trying to push them towards something that's not what I want. I don't want that. I want this. And they get constantly pushed, and they're trying to fight against that push. I think that for those reasons alone, it is a powerful piece of work.
Yes. And like you said, they, like, listen, when they said Romare Bearden, I was like, I thought he was an artist.
Artist,
So
exactly.
I never knew that whole story about his baseball career. Mm-hmm. So it's like there were a lot of things that were, I thought it was very well done. And at the end of the day, now listen, what I said on Twitter, I want my brother Colin to get past this idea of playing in the NFL again. Number one, when we start off calling it a auction block, which it is, but when we just compare it to a slave auction, I kind of think it's over with, player. I kind of think it's over with. But I feel like they keep working now and taking care of your body, but your mind and your talent is so much bigger than that. And to me, there was the comment about baseball and why don't you play baseball so your mind won't become mush. Your mind is not mush. I pray for his deliverance from that aspect.
Yeah. And again, you can be in the Hall of Fame of life and not in the NFL Hall of Fame. And I think he'll be in the Hall of Fame of life. And I think that will be worth a whole lot more. So, yeah, if you out there and you want to come on, hey sister, we'll be glad to have you, Mr. Kaepernick.
Absolutely.
Because I was like, oh Lord, he was in middle school when I was in college. I was like, whoo, hurt my heart.
Yes, well, his birthday is in the next few days because I saw that he's 10 years younger than me. So that means he's 14 years younger than me.
Mhm. That part. Well, our last hot topic, you are tuned in to Hey Sister Live now. We had hot topics for you. We talked about insecure. We talked about insecure and that AKA. We also just finished wrapping up talking about Colin in Black and White, the new Netflix miniseries, limited series about the early formative years of one Colin Kaepernick. And the last thing we want to talk about tonight, because I guess we're on Meta and not Facebook, right?
Girl, we are on Facebook.
We were on Meta. We're gonna talk about Meta, and the question I have since is who all over there? Because if you have not seen the announcement for Meta, I'm gonna drop it in the chat so you all can to see it. It was quite disturbing to me, and I'll tell you why. It really solidified for me this disconnect with humans
Mhm.
that one Mr. Mark Zuckerberg clearly has. Now I know he has a wife. I'm not sure if they have children.
Mhm. They
Um,
do. They have a daughter.
okay, but he has a disconnect with humanity in some way because the way in which he talked about this platform for connection and coming together, I was like, what world does he live in? Because clearly he's not. We just came off of a great vacation where we were in Costa Rica. I don't want to do Costa Rica in Meta. I want to be there in physical person so I can touch you and see you. We're on this platform now. We're in two different areas and we see each other. I see your face, but it's nothing like when I see my sister and she's actually sitting side by side to me. And so when you watch this announcement from Meta, I don't know. I was a little disturbed at the disconnect from humanity. What are your thoughts, sister?
Okay, so I got to take it back a little bit.
Take it
Actually,
back.
he may have two children, but I know he has at least one daughter. So I have to take it back. So a few weeks ago, I was headed to LA and I was driving and I was listening to NPR. And that's when I first heard about this term metaverse. And which made me feel like why am I so late to this party because I work at a tech company. But nonetheless, when I got to LA, I asked my friend, one of my co-producers, who's also in tech, I said, have you heard about the metaverse? And she was like, no, she had not. And so I started explaining it to her. And she was like, oh, it sounds like Ready Player One a little bit. And so, in other words, this idea of the metaverse, and Zuckerberg has jumped on it early, right? But there have been other companies that have begun working in the metaverse earlier than Facebook. In fact, I forgot the name of the company. I'll look up the NPR story, but there were some other companies that were mentioned. But anyway, this idea of the metaverse is basically like a myth. It's virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, kind of like blend it all into one. And it's like you said, having a vacation or like we're doing Hey Sister in the metaverse. So we would have these avatars that sit together at the table or with the backdrop and all of this stuff, and we're having this conversation as if we're in the same place. And that ultimately this experience will be one that expands to your shopping. You would shop in the metaverse. You will buy real estate in the metaverse. All of these things. And I immediately thought this is going to be problematic. This is going to be problematic because number one, artificial intelligence, there's this whole piece about ethics and responsible AI, all of these things. There are all these conversations being had right now because what we know for sure is The same people who code these things, they have biases, and they bring their biases to their coding and to the work that they do. Okay, so that's one part. The other part though is like, how do you want to be completely disconnected? Like you said, this is supposed to create greater connection, and you're going to do it not actually being next to the person. And we have to consider the source. I don't know if you've ever seen, what is the net, what was the movie about Facebook,
The Social Network.
the social network. Yeah, this brother don't strike me as a person who had plenty of connection. He don't strike me as somebody who's socially engaged. In fact, he strikes me as someone who's socially awkward. That's why he would want to create an alternate universe. And again, AI has its own problems where dark skin isn't recognized. AI has its own problems where, again, if you code it to be biased, bias shows up. So when you think about a robot policing a certain neighborhood, and it only polices certain people in certain neighborhoods, and it's only prevalent in certain areas, then that becomes problematic. So my point is, all of the same foolery that we got in the real world will just move into this alternate universe,
Mhm.
unless there is a deliberate effort to keep us out of it. And I believe that that's happening too.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
because you shared about the real estate they're already selling in the metaverse.
yeah.
I saw my first ad for Meta for Business. And I believe that, to your point, again, it was started because of someone who, he didn't have a, the girl. It started with the girls who were rejecting him, right? Um, Rating them, and his original business partners, they they had a breaking of ways, right?
Right.
So I really believe that, yes, think of the source, think of the origin. There are some aspects to how we use these platforms that cannot and will not substitute human connection. I
Right.
think the leaders who will continue to excel will be those who master human connection and communication. I really believe that. So, yes, it is nice to have these virtual platforms in times of struggle and strife, like we had with the pandemic. I think it definitely opens us up globally to work on teams across the world, what people have already been doing with conference calls and computer, systems now. So you can meet with people and work with people in any time zone in any country and work on project teams. And I think for those uses, I think it's great. But when you talk about connection, when you talk about relationships,
Mm-hmm.
there is no substitute for actually flesh to flesh. And, until we are all drones, until we are all drones, I'm, like I said, with Meta, who all over there? Because I want to know who all over there, because that might not be where I, like you said, hey, it may not be made for me anyway. And I
Well,
know I'm of a certain age, so I'm probably not the demographic that's definitely being targeted.
yeah, but you got to remember, Facebook wasn't targeted like you said. It started as, I'm gonna get back at girls who rejected me. So it wasn't started to for with our demographic in mind. But now you have more older adults on Facebook than you have younger adults.
Mhm.
So my
And
when I
that's
was
why he bought Instagram. That's why he bought WhatsApp.
right, and when I was talking, well, yeah, I mean, and there's so many other companies that are being bought up as well to create this metaverse. And when I was talking to Jessica, that's who I was talking to about it, and she's like, no, she hadn't heard about it, but she was like, one, do you why would we want to do that, right? And why would we want to go into this metaverse? And I remember saying like something to the effect, I guess it's just the natural next progression from social media, because if you think about our cell phone, right? The cell phone started out being something that was just a communication device in terms of calling people on the phone. Then text messaging became, for a lot of people, especially
Mm-hmm.
younger people, the dominant form of communication, which the cell phone wasn't intended to use. That wasn't the intended use for it, but text messaging became the dominant form of communication. Now we use, again, apps, and we use things like social media to and really think we have talked to some people of recent, like you like, I oh wait, I thought I just saw this person. No, you didn't see them, you saw their pictures or a post on social media.
Yeah.
So I guess this is supposed to be like the natural next progression, but I don't like it. And I don't like it coupled with, there's a $10 billion investment being made in it. I don't like it coupled with the number of billionaires that I see now trying to go into space and things like that. I feel like this idea is to have only certain people engaged and be a part of this. And we have real issues here in the world. Like, we have climate issues. We have an overproduction and overuse of one-time use plastics. We have homelessness. So much that this money that they are investing in these things, like if you just invested that in real human connections and real human experiences, we could actually make the world we live in a better one, instead of seemingly escaping to a virtual augmented one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a very, 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 very valid point. So, let's see if y'all got some comments out there or any hot topics y'all want us to talk about. Let us know. You're tuned in live right now to Hey Sister. We've been doing an evening of hot topics. We've talked about Insecure and AKA. We've talked about Colin in Black and White, how we loved it, and one Mr. Jason Whitlock's comment. And then we just wrapped up talking about meta and what does that really mean for us, and how we connect and build relationships, and even as these technological spaces evolve, what does it mean for people who are groups that are typically marginalized and left out? So that's what we've been talking about tonight on Hey Sister. I don't see a whole lot of comments coming through. If you're still tuned in, you got a comment or you got something you want us to talk about tonight, drop it in right now and we'll get to it. So sister, I know you missed your homecoming, but your team had a big win yesterday.
They did. I'm happy for it.
Well,
Whew.
next week I'll be in New Orleans for Xavier's homecoming, and we are doing the what do we call the Crosstown Classic, Xavier versus Dillard game will be played while during homecoming. This is, I think, the first time the Xavier Dillard game has been during homecoming, and we will also. I guess since 2019 was so epic, we bringing Manny Fresh back for the tailgate. So like I said, I'm drinking my water. I will be going to my hot yoga. I gotta get my body ready because
Okay.
I know,
Well, sister, you all have a fabulous time. Hopefully your son will pretend he knows you. Uh, no, but go have a good time. Be safe, enjoy yourselves. The main thing is that I just watched the Saints game as well. They too were victorious over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But there was a lot of people in the dome, and I went to Seattle. But I will say again, at least for us. Now, maybe some other people had some fake stuff, but for us, they did check our vaccine cards before we were able to enter into the stadium. Um,
Well, Xavier University of Louisiana Homecoming is a fully vaccinated event. When you
there's that.
registered, you had to submit your vaccination cards. You have to wear masks still on campus because, as they said, this is not just for event for us. We got to keep this campus safe for the students who will be there after all of us leave. So, yes, we have great COVID protocols in place so that I actually have to test before I go on campus. So I have to have a
Awesome.
PCR test done before I go on campus, and I have to show it when I get my registration packet. So I think we might be okay, but I want to say thank you all for tuning in tonight for this evening of Hot Topics. If you have something that you want us to talk about and you want us to bring on to Hey Sister, please let us know. Connect with us on all the social media platforms. Shoot us a message. And if you ever want to be a guest on Hey Sister, let us know. We'd love to have you. And with that, we're going to sign off tonight. Good night, everybody.
Bye.